Namaste. Today I'm going to read Book 11, Chapter 15 on the rules of using the Tripundra and Urdha Pundra marks in the Maha Devi Bhagavatam. Om Bhagavatam Mahakaya. Koti Surya Samani Vignam Koti. Hari Om. Hari Om Tat Sat. Narayana said, only the twice born are to take this Tripundra on the forehead and the other parts of the body after carefully purifying the ashes by the mantra Agni Riti Bhasma, etc. The Brahmanas, Kshatriyas and Vaishyas are known as the twice born. The Dvijas ought to take daily this Tripundra with great care. O Brahmana, those who are purified with the ceremony of the holy thread are called the Dvijas. For these are taking of Tripundra as per Shruti is very necessary. Without taking this Vibhuti, any good work done is as it were not done. There is no doubt in this. Even the japam of Gayatri is not well performed if this bhasma be not used. O best of Munis, the Gayatri is the most important and the chief thing of the Brahmanhood. But that is not advised if the Tripundra be not taken. O Munis, as long as the ashes born of Agni are not applied on the forehead, one is not entitled to be initiated in the Gayatri mantra. O Brahman, unless ashes be applied on the forehead, no one will recognize you as a Brahmana. For this reason, I take this holding of the merit giving Tripundra as the cause of the Brahmanhood. I speak this verily unto you, that he is recognized as a Brahmana, and literally on whose forehead there is seen the white ashes purified by the mantra. He is entitled to the state of a Brahmana who is naturally very eager to collect the ashes as he collects the invaluable gems and jewels. Those who are not naturally eager to collect the bhasma, as they are naturally eager to collect gems and jewels, are to be known as Chandalas in some of their previous births. Those who are not naturally joyous in holding Tripundra were verily Chandalas in their previous births. This I tell you truly, very truly. Those who eat roots and fruits without holding ashes go to the terrible hells. He who worships Shiva without having vibhuti on his forehead, that wretch is a Shiva hater and goes to hell after his death. He who does not hold vibhuti is not entitled to any religious act. Without taking vibhuti, if you make a gift of tula purasa made of gold, you won't get any fruits. Rather, you will have to go to hell. As the Brahmanas are not to perform their sandhyas without their holy threads, so without this vibhuti, one ought not also to perform one's sandhya. If at times a man by chance has no holy thread, he can do his sandhya by muttering the Gayatri or by fasting. But there is no such rule in holding bhasma. If one performs sandhya without having any vibhuti, he is liable to incur a sin, as without holding this bhasma, no right can come to him to perform his sandhya. As a man of a lower caste acts contrary and incurs a sin if he hears the Veda mantra, so a twice born incurs a sin if he performs sandhya without having his Tripundra. The twice born must therefore collect his thoughts with his heart intent on this Tripundra, whether it be according to Srota or Smarta method, or in absence there of the Laukika Bhasma. Of whatever sort is the Bhasma, it is always pure. In the Sandhya and other actions of worship, the twice born ought to be very careful and punctilious, punctilious in using this bhasma. Punctilious in using this bhasma. No sin can enter into the body of one besmeared with ashes. For this reason, the Brahmanas ought always to use ashes with great care. One is to uphold the tripundra, 6 angulars high or greater by the 4 middle and ring finger on the right hand. If anybody uses tripundra, shining and brilliant, and extending from eye to eye, he becomes no doubt a Rudra. The ring finger is the letter A. The middle finger is U, and the forefinger is M. So the tripundra marks drawn by the above 3 fingers is of the nature of the 3 gunas. The tripundra should be drawn by the middle, 4, and ring finger in a reverse way from left of the forehead to its right. I will now tell you an anecdote very ancient. Listen, once Durvasa, the head of the ascetics, with his body besmeared with ashes and with rudraksham all over on his body, went to the region of the Pitris, uttering loudly, O Shankara, of the form of all, O Shiva, O Mother Jagadamba, the source of all auspiciousness. The Pitris, Kavyavalas, etc., Kavya Valanala, Soma Yama, Sachevar Yama, Tatha, Agnisvata, Varhisada, Somapha, Pitri Devata, got up, received him heartily, and gave him seats, and showed him great honors and respect, and held many pure conversations with the Muni. During their talk, the sinners of the Kumbhipaka hell were crying, Oh alas, we are killed. We are being killed. Oh, we are being burnt. Some others cried, Oh, we are cut down. Thus various cries and lamentations reached their ears. Hearing their piteous cries, Durvasa, the prince of the rishis, asked with a grievous heart the Pitris, Who are those crying? The Pitris replied, There is a city close to our place called Samyamani Puri of the king Yama, where the sinners are punished. Yama gives punishment to the sinners there. O sinless one, in that city the king Yama lives with his terrible black-colored messengers, the personifications of Kala, the destruction. For the punishment of the sinners, 86 hells exist there. The place is being guarded always by the horrible messengers of Yama out of those hells. The hell named Kumbhipaka is very big, and that is the chief of the hells. The ailings and torments of the sinners in the Kumbhipaka hell cannot be described in 100 years. O Muni, the Shiva haters, the Vishnu haters, the Devi haters are made to fall to this kunda. Those who find fault with the Vedas and blame the sun, Ganesha, are tyrannies. The Brahmanas fall down to this hell. Those who blame their mothers, fathers, gurus, elder brothers, the Smritis and Puranas, and those as well who take the Tapta Mudras, heart marks on their bodies, and Tapta Sulas, those who being Shaivas act as they like. Those who blame the religion dharma go down to that hell. We hear constantly their loud, piteous cries, very painful to hear, hearing which naturally gives rise to feelings of indifference. Vairagyam, hearing the above words of the Pitris, Durvasa, the prince of the Munis, went to the hell to see the sinners. O Muni, going there, the Muni bent his head downwards and saw the sinners, when instantly the sinners began to enjoy pleasures more than those who enjoy in the heavens. The sinners became exceedingly glad. Some began to sing, some began to dance, some began to laugh. Some sinners began to play one with one another in great ecstasy. The musical instruments mirdanga, muraja, lute, dhaka, dundubis, etc. resounded with sweet sonorous tones in accordance with 5 resonance. The sweet, fragrant smell of the flowers of Vasanti creepers spread all round. Durvasa Muni became surprised to see all this. The messengers of Yama were startled and immediately went to their king Yama and said, "O Lord, our king, a wondrous event occurred lately. The sinners in the Kumbhipaka hell are now enjoying pleasures more than those in the heavens. O Bibhu, how can this take place? We cannot make out the cause of this. O Deva, we all have become terrified and have come to you." Hearing the words of the messengers, Dharmaraja, mounting on his great buffalo, came there instantly and, seeing the state of the sinners, sent news immediately to the heavens. Hearing the news, Indra came there with all the devas. Brahma came there from his Brahmaloka, and Narayana came there from Vaikunta. Hearing this, the regents of the quarters, the Digpalas, came there with all their attendants from their respective abodes. They all came there to the Kumbhipaka hell and saw that all the beings there are enjoying greater pleasures than those in the heavens. They all were astonished to see this, and they could not make out why this had happened. What a wonder is this! This kunda has been built for the punishment of the sinners. When such a pleasure is now being felt here, the people won't fear anything henceforth to commit sins. Why in this order of the Vedas created by God reversed? Why has God undone his own doing? What a wonder is this! Now a great miracle is before our sight. Thus speaking, they remained at a fix. They could not make out the cause of this. In the meanwhile, Bhagavan Narayana, after consulting with the other devas, went with some devas to the abode of Shankara in Kailasa. They saw there that Sri Bhagavan Shankara, with crescent of the moon on his forehead, was playing there, attended always by the Paramatas, and adorned with various ornaments like a youth 16 years old. His parts of the body were very beautiful, as if the mine of loveliness. He was conversing on various delightful subjects with his consort Parvati and pleasing her mind. The 4 Vedas were there personified. Seeing him, Narayana bowed down and informed him clearly of all the wonderful events. He said, "O Deva, what is the cause of all of this? What is the cause of all this? We cannot make out anything. O Lord, thou art omniscient. Thou knowest everything, so kindly mention how is this brought about." Hearing Vishnu's words, Bhagavan Shankara spoke graciously in sweet words, grave as the rumbling of a rain cloud. "O Vishnu, hear the cause of this. What wonder is there? This is all due to the greatness of Bhasma, ashes, what cannot be brought about by Bhasma." The great Shaiva Durvasa went to see the Kumbhipaka hell, besmearing his whole body with Bhasma, and looked downwards while he was looking at the sinners. At that time, accidentally, a particle of Bhasma from his forehead was blown by air to the bodies of the sinners in the hell. Thereby, they were freed of their sins, and they got so much pleasure. Such is the greatness of Bhasma. Henceforth, the Kumbhipaka will no more be a hell. It will be a tirtha, holy place of pilgrimage, of the residents of the Prithri-lokas. Whoever will bathe there will be very happy. There is no doubt in this. Its name will be henceforth the Pitri Tirtha. O Satama, my lingam in the form of Bhagavati ought to be placed there. The inhabitants of the Pitri-loka would worship them. This will be the best of all the tirthas extant in the 3 lokas. And if the Pitrisvari there be worshipped, know that the worship of the Triloki is done. Narayana said, hearing thus the words of Shankara, the Deva of the Devas, he thanked him, and taking his permission, came to the Devas and informed them of everything, what Shankara had said. Hearing this, the Devas nodded their heads and said, Sadhu, Well, very well, and began to glorify the greatness of Bhasma. O tormentor of the enemies, Hari, Brahma, and the other devas began to eulogize the glories of ashes. The Pitris became very glad to get a new Tirtha. The devas planted a Shiva Lingam and the form of the Devi on the banks of the new Tirtha and began to worship them regularly day by day. The sinners that were there suffering all ascended on the celestial chariot and got up to Kailasa. Even today, they are all dwelling in Kailasa and are known by the name of the Bhadras. The hell Kumbhipaka came to be built afterwards in another place. Since that day, the Devas did not allow any other devotee of Shiva to go to the newly created hell, Kumbhipaka. Thus I have described to you the excellent greatness of the Bhasma. O Muni, what more can they be than the glories of the Bhasma? The best of Munis, now I am telling you of the usage of Urdhapundra, the vertical marks, according to the proper providence, to the proper province of the devotees. Listen, I will now speak what I have ascertained from the study of the Vaishnava Sastras, the measure of Urdhapundra, according to the Anguli measurements, the color, mantra, devata, and the fruits thereof. Here, the earth required is to be seen red from the crests of hills, the banks of the rivers, the place of Shiva, Shiva Ksatram, the ocean beaches, the ant hill, or from the roots of the tulsi plant. The earth is not to be had from any other places. The black colored earth brings in peace, the red color earth brings in powers to bring another to one's control. The yellow colored earth increases prosperity, and the white colored earth gives dharma, religion. If the Urdhapundra be drawn by the thumb, nourishment is obtained. If it be drawn by the middle finger, longevity is increased. If it be drawn by nameless or ring finger, food is obtained. And if it be drawn by the forefinger, liberation is attained. So the Urdhapundras ought to be drawn by these fingers. Only be careful to see that the nails do not touch at the time of making the mark. The shape of the Urdhapundra, the vertical mark or sign on the forehead, is like a flame, or like the opening bud of a lotus, or like the leaf of a bamboo, or like a fish, or like a tortoise, or like a conch shell. The Urdhapundra, 10 angulis high, is the super best. 9 angulis high is best. 8 angulis high is good. The middling Urdhapundra is of 3 kinds, as it is of 7 angulas, 6 angulas or 5 angulas. The lowest Urdhapundra is again of 3 kinds, as it is 4 angulas, 3 angulas or 2 angulas high. On the Urdhapundra, on the forehead, you must meditate Keshava. On the belly, you must think of Narayana. On the heart, you must meditate on Madhava. And on the neck, you must meditate on Govinda. So on the right side of the belly, you must meditate on Madhusudana. On the roots of the ears, on Trivikrama, on the left belly, on Vamana, on the arms, on Sridhara, on the ears, Hrishikesa on the back, Padmanabha on the shoulders, Damodara on the head, Brahmarandra, you must meditate on Vasudeva. Thus, the 12 names are to be meditated. In the morning or in the evening time, when you are going to make the puja or homa, you are to take duly, single in intent, the above names and make the marks of Urdhapundras. any man with urdapundra on his head is always pure, whether he be impure or of unrighteous conduct, or whether he commits a sin mentally. Wherever he dies, he comes to my abode, even if he be of a Chandala caste. My devotees, Veera Vaishnavas or Mahavira Vaishnavas, who know my nature, must keep an empty space between the two lines of Urdapundra, of the form of the Vishnu Pada, the feet of Vishnu. And those who are my best devotees are to use nice Urdapundras made of turmeric powder of the size of a spear, Sula, of the form of the feet of Vishnu, Vishnu Pada. The ordinary Vaishnavas are to use with bhakti the Urdapundras without any empty space, but the form of it is to be like a flame, the blossom of a lily, or like a bamboo leaf. Those who are Vaishnavas in name only can use Urdapundra of both the kinds, with or without any empty space. They incur no sin if they use one without an empty space, but those who are my good devotees incur sin if they do not keep an empty space between the two vertical lines. In the Urdapundra, 3 vertical lines are used. The Vaishnavas who use excellent vertical rod-like Urdapundras, keeping an empty space in the middle and uttering the mantra, Keshavaya Nama, build my temple there in the beautiful middle space of Urdapundra. The undecaying Vishnu is playing with Lakshmi. That wretch, the twice-born who uses Urdapundra without any empty space, kills Vishnu and Lakshmi seated there. The stupid who uses Urdapundra without a vacant space goes successively to 21 hells. The Urdapundra should be of the size of a clear straight rod, lotus flame, a fish with a sharp straight edges, and with vacant spaces between them. A great Muni, the Brahmana, should always use the Tripundra like the lock of hair on the crown of his head and like his sacrificial thread, otherwise all his actions will be fruitless. Therefore, in all ceremonies and actions, the Brahmanas ought to use Urdapundras of the form of a trident, a circle, or of a square form. The Brahmana who knows the Vedas is never to use the semi-moon-like mark tilak on his head. The man who is of the Brahmin caste and follows the path of the Vedas should not even by mistake use any other mark than those above mentioned. Other sorts of pundras, marks that are mentioned in other Vaishnava sastras for the attainment of fame, beauty, etc., the Veda-knowing Brahmanas should not use them. The Vedic Brahmanas should not use even in error any other tilaks than the curved tripundras. If out of delusion the man following the path of the Vedas uses other sorts of tripundras, he would certainly go down to hell. The Veda-knowing Brahmanas would certainly go down to hell if they use other sorts of tripundras on their bodies. Only the tilakas prescribed in the Vedas ought to be used by those who are devoted to the Vedas. Those who do not observe the duties of the Vedas would use tilakas approved of by other sastras. Those should use marks approved by the Vedas whose deity is that of the Vedas. Those who follow the Tantra sastras different from the Vedas should use marks approved of by the Tantras. Mahadeva is the Vedas deity and ready to deliver from the bondages of the world. He has prescribed the tilakas prescribed in the Vedas for the benefit of the devotee. The marks prescribed by Vishnu, also a deity of the Vedas, are also those of the Vedas. His other avatars also use marks approved of by the Vedas. The Tripundras and the besmearing of the body with ashes are according to the Vedas. In the Tantra Sastra, different from the Vedas, there is the usage of Tripundra and other marks, but they are not to be used by the Vedics. No, never. Those who follow the path of the Vedas should use the curved Tripundras and Bhasma on their foreheads according to the rules prescribed in the Vedas. He who has obtained the highest state of Narayana, i.e., who has realized my nature, ought to always use on their foreheads Sula marks scented with fragrant sandal paste. Here ends the 15th chapter on the 11th book on the rules of using the Tripundra and Urdapundra marks in the Mahapuranam, Srimad Devi Bhagavatam of 18,000 verses by Maharishi Ved Vyasa. Om Jayanti Mangala Kali Bhadrakali Bhadravasham. Tüyo Mata Chapitatu, Tüyo Pandus Jasakata.